Oh, dude, what's up?
Good to see you.
Oh, Mr. Mark Cohen, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
Dude, you look well. You
Oh,
look
thanks.
money, baby. Yeah. You ever see that what is that? What is that movie? Vince Vaughn. He's like, "You look so money, baby."
Swingers.
Thank you. He's like,
Swingers is a top 10 movie of all time.
so good. So
Underrated.
underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated. Yes. I feel like that's something that we have in common that we have never actually talked about is our love for quality film, right?
Yeah.
Give
Swingers.
me give me your okay, let's just hit it off with a bang. Mark Cohen, sports information director of Texas Christian University for 20 plus years, incredible human being, awesome father, incredible family man, a friend, and just an all around awesome dude. I love you, man. I'm so stoked to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time. Um, top, give me, I mean, this is so hard, but give me top five films.
Well, we were talking a few minutes ago in no particular order. Um, you got to go, Swingers is kind of a hidden gem. Not many people know with Vince Vaughn, John Favreau, Heather Graham.
Cult classic.
Yeah.
Cult classic. Yes. And the same would be said in the same thread, Big Lebowski, right?
That is one
You
I've
didn't
heard
get into that? You didn't
I've
get
heard
into that.
great things about that. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. But
Dude,
I'll come back at you with Dazed and Confused.
oh, so good. And coming from an Austinite, I can call myself that now because I've lived down here for 8 years now. Um, that was filmed all in Austin, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um, and then if you go back to the 80s, and it still holds up well, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Wow. Yeah. What's the guy's name? The stoner? What's the
Spicoli.
Spicoli? Yeah.
That was going to high school in Southern California at
Oh
the
yeah.
same time. And I will say they nailed it. It was really
Dang.
well done.
Really? He was spot on.
Yeah.
Really?
He went
Dude,
undercover at a high school to prepare for that movie.
no
The producer,
kidding.
I forget his name, but he's married to, the band Heart,
Oh, of
Nancy
course.
Wilson,
Absolutely. That's
yeah.
another good film. Jason Segel and uh the guy from Clueless, Kansas City Chiefs
Oh,
fan.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, and they like jam out to Heart. Have you seen
Uh-huh.
that? Yeah, it's a good one too. I think
Um,
it's, yeah, I can't remember the name of that one, but so okay, all right. So you've got what are your top five? Give me your top five.
well, Animal House,
Oh,
uh,
Animal House is a good one. Yeah.
Caddyshack,
Oh, Caddyshack's so good.
and then getting away from comedies a little bit. I love Good Will Hunting.
Oh, so good. Gosh, do you know that line that Robin Williams says where he goes at the very end when
It's not your fault.
he that was impromptu. Yeah, he
Oh,
that wasn't written by Matt Damon. And when he said that, Matt Damon apparently was behind the camera with the director, and he was like, "Oh, that's it. That's it."
oh, that's
You
great.
know, isn't that so good? Oh God, dude, good to have you on, man. Good to see you. Um, God, so many things to catch up on, honestly. And I sent you an agenda, and then as I was like going through my notes and stuff, the journalist in me, right? I was just digging through, and I'm like, oh my gosh. First of all, congratulations on being a grandfather of little Eli.
Thank you. I mean,
Come
I
on.
think I need surgery to get the smile off my face.
Oh,
I'm going to go up and see him in another, I think it's, yeah, less than 2 weeks. I'll be up there in Cincinnati for a good bit.
that's
And
beautiful.
I want to see my son and daughter-in-law as well, but I might just push right by them at the front door and just go right to my grandson.
Right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah. Yeah.
about 7 weeks old now.
Oh, dude, isn't that
And he-
cool? I mean,
and he's smiling now. I mean, he's got the
oh,
greatest smile. Um,
oh, that's
that
beautiful.
just changes everything when you just
Oh
think about
man.
him. And in a way, I'm like, you know what? He wouldn't be here without me. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, wow, that's kind of take that in, right? That's pretty special. I uh I have a nephew and his name's Bowden and he's everything to me. It's the most incredible thing. And I know he's not my son, right? He's my
yeah,
brother's son,
yeah.
but man, dude, Mark, he's so smart. He was literally he had like um he has like what is a periodic table? He has adult card periodic tables, and he's 2.5. He speaks more Spanish than anybody else in our entire household. I mean, the kid is genius. He really is, and I know everyone says that, and I'm sure you're like, yeah, this kid's genius, but like I mean, it's just really cool. I think I asked my brother, my girlfriend and I, Rachel, we were up in Fort Worth a couple of weeks ago. We tried to connect, but we just kind of, whatever. Um, but she was like, man, he's really smart. I was like, I know. And I asked my brother, I said, man, how did you guys get him to be this way? And my brother said that he would always read to him, no matter what the circumstances were, wherever he was in life and day to day. He was like, I'll drop everything and I'm gonna read to him if he wants to
Right.
be. And so, like, I don't know, I think like those type of things, and I'm sure like I bet you can't wait to get up there and just be like, let me read to you,
Yeah.
Eli, you
I just
know?
want to hold him, you know, have him smile. And
Oh.
I'm not sure if he's quite ready for Skyline Chili, but we are going to go to a Reds game.
You're not gonna put the onions and but are you gonna go to a Reds game? You got
Oh,
to.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Oh my
scheduled the
gosh.
visit while the Reds were going to be home. So I'm a
Sick,
baseball
dude.
guy, so
I
I got
know
to.
you are. Yeah, because you're a California guy, right? Aren't you a LA Dodgers guy?
I'm a Dodger. Yeah, I grew up with the Dodgers. I'm a Southern California
Yeah,
native, and so
sick. Like, did
last
you
year,
like the Angels too, though, a little
yeah,
bit?
yeah, I was
Yeah,
actually I grew up in Orange County, so I was much closer to Anaheim. So I went to
dude.
more Angel games than Dodger games.
Okay, that's I somewhere along the line. You know who I talked to this morning, gearing up for our conversation? Bill Ellis,
Oh wow,
CBS Dallas. I
legend,
mean,
legend.
absolute legend, absolute legend. And he was my first, you know, he was my first mentor, honestly.
Yeah, Bill's great.
I mean, because if you remember, Mark, um, I put all that time into football and, it was a full-time job. You know it. You know how that is. I mean, it was literally class and then Donnie Summers and then GP. It was like I didn't have a choice. It was just dink, dink, dink. It
Yeah,
was just so routine and structured. And then that last semester, I only had like 9 hours or something, and no more football. And I got that internship.
yeah,
Praise God, broadcast journalism school, Bob Schieffer's School of Journalism, TCU, incredible. Set me up for my entire life. And that's when I met Bill Ellis. But a professor had kind of connected me to CBS Dallas, right? And and then Bill Ellis, though, because I would be sitting there and I'd be like writing for Babe Loffenberg,
mhm,
legend, also, right? All those guys over there,
yeah.
incredible, right? Those guys
Candy
are all
Green.
Emmy Award. Yeah, dude. All those guys were Emmy Award winners. And well, he played for the Cows, and all that. And I'm sitting there and I would be writing their scripts essentially, or I'd be editing, right? And like cutting it up. And then Bill would walk by with his camera, that big heavy ass camera.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he'd go, you want to go to the ballpark today? And I'd be like, you're goddamn right. I want
yeah,
to go to the ballpark. So Bill would get me out of there. And then Bill would make me, Mark. you wouldn't believe, dude. He was so badass. He used to have me do stand up after stand up after stand up, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I think that Bill helped me understand that, like, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you're talking to thousands of people, but really, I'm telling a story to you. And Bill helped me understand that. And it was like, no matter if it was 35 cuts, he would just make me keep going. He'd be like, "No, come on, you can do better. Like, be yourself, be you, be Andy B." And that's that was pretty cool advice to,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that moment of, and but honestly, Mark, I couldn't have gotten there without you. I mean, like I remember when I was doing that internship, right? And I would come back, right? Like, because people are always like, why didn't you go pro? I'm like, well, uh, not everyone can go pro, right?
Could have
Like,
showed him your game tape from Pascal High School. That was
oh,
for Southern
oh,
Arkansas.
oh, yeah, yeah, the days of running the option. Well, that's funny that you bring that up, and thank you for saying that. Because that was, I got to TCU and I was like, oh, dude, running gun. I'm the quarterback for this system. It's going to be perfect. I'm going to get in here and just ball out. And then they were like, this guy, Andy Dalton, cruised through the door and they were like, and then I walked into my locker and it was a purple jersey. And I was like, that's defense. I
Mhm.
was like, they're like, you're going straight to safety. But do you remember those days? I guess, say there's 12 safeties in that room. Kalu, Elvis Gallegos, um, Colin Jones, Tukey. We were all quarterbacks or running
Yeah.
backs, right?
I remember one year, I think it was 2008 maybe, or maybe six. It was one of the Poinsettia Bowl years
Oh yeah.
where three of the four starting D linemen were running backs in high school.
Jerry Hughes, um,
Tommy
Tommy
Blake
Blake.
and Jeracia Williams was actually a running back in high
No
school.
shit. Was he really? That dude was a beast.
Yeah.
Wow, Jeracio Williams. I haven't heard that name in a while. Is that J-Dub?
Yeah.
J-Dub. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's from the boot. He's from
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I went down there and worked. That was my first gig on TV, Lafayette, Louisiana.
Remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, KATC. Yeah, that was interesting because I went from working, and we're getting off path, but that's
Let's see. So
okay.
when you were
That's
in Lafayette, Louisiana,
And that, well, they would scorn you for that, Mark, because you're talking Midwest. When you go down to, it's Lafayette.
yeah.
And I used to have to write that in the prompter. I used to have to say Lafayette
See, at
because,
those during that time, you should have been covering youth football and Jack Besh.
oh yeah, well, STM.
Mhm.
I did cover STM
Okay.
and they were damn good every single year. That was the best private school in Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were right off of there's a street called Cali Saloon. And my Lafayette people will know this, but yeah, Cali Saloon, and that was where STM was. And Jack Besh, what a player, huh?
Mhm.
He seems like a great kid, huh?
Oh, the best. Most humble guy. Just became a great friend. We've kept in
Oh,
touch even after he left
oh,
campus. Was
beautiful.
able to show him the new weight room. He was blown away.
Cool.
Um,
Oh, wow,
uh,
really?
as
So, yeah,
unbelievable person.
dude, that's so cool, Mark. I feel like I was there when you first got in, right? And so, like, kind of like that maturation process, what was that like? I mean, there's so much growth. And I think that's one of the things that I've had to learn throughout my life and my career and journey is like, there's always like this evolution and growth and changes. and sometimes it can be very difficult, right? Um, how was that? Like you seem to always manage it so perfectly, and you always like made all of us feel so comfortable.
Well,
You know,
thanks.
even I talked to J Phil yesterday, and it's just like, and, he's doing like all these like private
Yeah.
or public speaking events and things like that. And I love him so much. He's been a friend that's stood the test of time, and it's just like we were talking about how like you always made us feel at ease, and you always made the even in torrential downpour of rain, right? Like the tsunamis or whatever. You were just like I texted you, cool as a cucumber, dude. How do
Yeah.
you keep that going? Like, how do you do that, dude?
You know, you just realize sometimes, so you have some days you just try to stay even keel. I mean, some
Yeah.
days, everything goes your way, and then
Yeah.
other days, sometimes you feel like there's a kick me sign on your back. But no, it just coming in '05, you know, it was start of fall. Actually, fall camp was underway. And so I'm trying to get all my faces and names down. And so I was
Yeah.
studying the media guide and looking at headshots, and identifying people by their haircuts or if they had a beard. And so, you come across a player and I'm like, oh, in his headshot, he had long hair. Dang, you got a haircut now. That's throwing me for a loop.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I remember that first game, winning at Oklahoma. And I
Oh, man.
still didn't have a lot of the faces down yet. I had some names down, but I was still only on the job for like 2.5 weeks. And so I remember going to Matt Lewis in the locker room, I'm getting the players for post-game media. I'm like, which one's Modkins? I can't tell who he
Ah,
is, or
ah.
I forget what he looks like,
What a
and
hell of a career he's had, by the way,
yeah,
Jeremy. Yeah.
no, there's no doubt he'd be
J-Mod.
a successful coach.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think he went to Georgia Tech and then where else he been? Do you know? Like, I'm sure you
He's at
keep up with.
Rice. He's at Rice right now.
Okay.
But just a phenomenal person.
Yeah. Oh
Great
man. Well, he was
family.
always such an awesome leader, because coming in as a walk-on and coming from transitioning from not only first of all, I never wanted to really go to TCU, right? Like I always was like you, I had Cali in my heart. Like I used to have different guys on my wall, USC. I wanted to be out in California surfing. I can't surf for shit, by the way. Um, but like I always wanted to be in California playing at like Pac-10 or something. And I used to watch Ladanian. I mean, I can remember as a kid in middle school going to the TCU football games and just and being there and like flirting with girls and then turning around and just watching LT just run for 456 yards.
I'm
You know,
stunned. You flirting with girls?
right? Yeah. Yeah. That's my goat tendency, I guess you could say. But dude, like literally I can there's a vivid image in my brain, a memory of me turning around and just watching LT just
Yeah.
I mean, the guy did not stop running that day. I think it was against UTEP, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
And
first time I'd heard of him. I saw, some guy at TCU with a unique name, a name I'd never seen
yeah.
before. I'm like, wow, some guy just ran for 400
How
yards.
did Baylor let him go, huh?
Mhm.
Same way they let me go. Do you know that, dude, this is crazy. And this is free forum, so just FYI. But uh dude, when I was because our Pascal stunk. They're actually pretty decent these days, by the way. I don't know if are you still in Fort Worth or
Yes.
okay, cool. Yeah, Pascal's like pretty legit. They've got like some kids coming out of there. It's pretty awesome. I'm excited to
I think their
see.
Wikipedia page lists you as famous alumni.
Hell yeah. I'll take that, baby. Let's go. I mean, I'm semi-famous. I used to remember like there's a lot of ego in local television, you know. And I can remember people would get so stoked about like being noticed at the gas station. And I was just like, I don't know. There's a lot of ego in TV, but neither her nor there. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I don't know. Those were some good days, man. I mean, I think that like TCU, even though I didn't want to like actually go there, like in my mind, it just kind of like the things kind of set up that way. And I think that they had such a great broadcast school that I
Mhm.
was so like, you know, from the time that I was like 6 years old, Mark, I used to, Atlanta Braves were my team because they were always on TNT, they were always on TBS, they were always on. And the Rangers at the time stunk. And we'd go to the Rangers games, and my dad would take me to the park, and it was great. The old blue, it was
Yeah.
like the royal blue, kind of like the Oilers hat you're wearing. It was like that blue, ballpark.
Yeah.
Um, and they used to take us there, but like the Braves were always on television, and they had two great broadcasters. I wish I could remember their
Skip
names.
Carey,
Skip Carey.
Joe Simpson, Pete Van Wieren.
Oh my gosh. Now, if you want to go through the lineup, I can do that all day. Lemke, Otis Nixon,
I picture you having a
Chipper Jones,
Wowzer.
David Justice. Blouser, Blouser. Yes, dude. Yeah, I need a Blouser jersey, honestly. Yeah, that would be sick, honestly. But dude, so my parents, they make me go to bed or whatever, right? But I would creep out of the because I wanted to be Bob Costas. That was always like as a kid, I was like, I'm gonna be the next Bob Costas. I wish Bob Costas could hear that now. I'm sure you have a hookup there. But I would creep out and I would look down the hallway and I would watch the game,
Yeah.
after they put me to bed. And then my dad, though, he would always, you'll love this because I feel like you probably did something like this with your boys. But like my dad would write on a napkin, on a paper towel. He would take a marker and he would write Braves win 4-1 against Phillies. Bottom of the ninth, Justice hits walk off, and like I would get to my little, and I would open my lunch and I would see that
Yeah.
and go,
Yeah.
oh man, because this is preemptive of, social media
Sure.
and cell phones and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm sure you can appreciate that, right? Like,
Yeah.
isn't that
Uh,
pretty rad?
yeah. No, baseball, that's a big
Oh,
part of our family. That's why I'm looking forward when I get to Cincy, shortly.
dude.
Sort
Yeah.
of
So
the
who
game.
who are they playing when you go?
It's going to overlap with the Yankees and Padres. And
Sick.
so to go to the
Dude, you're
game,
gonna get to see Tatis.
yeah.
Oh, dude, that guy's a freak,
Well, the
isn't
guy
he?
I'm most excited to see is Nick Lodolo,
Oh
who
my God, the
obviously,
shortstop?
oh,
Is he?
Nick Lodolo, pitcher from TCU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's with the Reds. He's done really well. He's become a great family friend.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
hopefully it works out rotation wise, where
Yeah.
he's pitching, one of
Is
those,
he a bullpen guy or is he a starter?
he's one of their starters.
Wow. Dang. Talk about that program. Talk about like the maturation. We're talking about when you first got there in 2004 to like all the, I mean, dude, you got to go to Omaha several times, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that because that's been on my dad and I's bucket list, and we still haven't gone. And my dad's been ill over the last 5 years, and he just keeps fighting, and nobody can figure out what the heck's going on. And it's a whole deal because he was super dad. That's what we called him in Boy Scouts. He was always my dad was a track star.
Yeah.
He's always been the fittest of fit, and then all of a sudden he's been sick the last 5 years, and it's been super tough on our family and stuff. And but like that's been on our bucket list. So could you tell me some of your favorite memories from Omaha? That'd be cool.
Well, the best one was still the first year, 2010, because it was the last year of the old stadium with Rosenblatt.
Yeah.
And so, it was just historic. to be there
Oh,
first time. And I'll never forget when the teams came out the night before, kind of the opening ceremonies.
yeah,
I was in the stands, just watching our team walk out
yeah.
and got the biggest roar. And so my
Wow.
oldest son, David, was with me. And so I didn't know any better. I tell him, oh, they must be cheering loudly for us because we're the new guys. And then somebody behind me in the stands at Rosenblatt, right behind home plate, goes, oh, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but just to correct you, I'm from here. You got the loudest cheer because you beat Texas, and we don't like Texas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I still walk around, dude. Like I refuse to wear burnt orange, and I've been here almost a decade, and I'm just like, I stand strong by the Horn Frogs, man. I can't do it. Because we played them in '07, and I almost blocked the punt, dude. And we had the lead 9-3 at half. I don't know if you probably, I know you remember. We had a lead. Torrey Stewart,
Torrey Stewart, a
cornerback.
pick six.
Fucking A, dude. Kid took
Yeah.
it right back to the
Sure.
easy. And I like did this incredible swing move. And I can even remember Chase Ortiz coming up to me after the film on Sunday, right? And he's like, damn good swim move. I was like, yes. All American DN telling me I had a good swim move. I was like, yes. Oh man, I almost blocked that thing, but they were nasty to my family when my parents were in the stands, and I'll just like forever remember that because my brother like got into it with some guy because my mom was upset, and like I just know that like what happened there, what's interesting, and that's kind of like the NIL deal, is like uh we had really great first team players. We were incredible, but it
Mhm.
was like the depth. We
Yeah.
didn't have the depth at that point. We were still in the Mountain West and this and that, and we weren't recruiting the big
We had
boys.
a running back who was the best in the country at riding skateboards across campus, Ryan Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. Alito's best, dude. Yeah. Dude. Oh, I miss that guy. He was great. He was a great teammate. We had like a really good team in those, and I'm sure that there's been other awesome teams to walk that turf, but we had a really solid, we were all together.
Yeah.
And I think that was like one of the things that made us so great. I think we went like 45-4 or something. It's on one of my rings.
Mhm.
We were so good, dude, Mark, weren't we? Because I mean, Ty went down. That was your first year. It was like Ty won that game with Lonte Hall, right? Or
Lonte Hobbs and Robert Merrill.
Lonte
Two-
Hobbs and Robert Merrill, the
Yeah.
most under assuming running back you would ever see. You're like, that guy's soft. See, that was one of the things that I learned real quick. And when I was going to like college campuses and like doing like, going to camps and stuff when I was at Pascal, and I would go to like A&M and UT and Baylor and TCU, and I would do those summer camps, right? And, the guy with the biggest calves on the team doesn't mean he's the best, right? Like he's not the most athletic guy. It doesn't mean he's a football player, right? Like just because he has big calves, yeah, he's a great athlete, but he's not a football player. And I feel like that was kind of like that was Robert Merrill, dude. He was kind of chunky, you know, he was kind of a little chunky, but dude, that kid, you couldn't bring him down, dude.
Yeah.
That guy was hard to tackle. And if you caught him, I can remember in a spring, I can remember in a spring game when it was like my life was on the line, Mark. I was like, I'm out here trying to get a motherfucking scholarship, and I'm out here. And dude, if you caught him in open field, at that strong safety position and Robert Merrill, he would just give you one of these.
Well, I
He
want to
would,
know, could you tackle Shea Reagan in the open field?
Oh, I used to rock Shay Reagan. Tell Shay right now, Shay Reagan. No, I used to rock Shay
The
Reagan.
pride of Idalou, Texas.
Yeah, dude, badass quarterback as well.
Yeah,
Badass
yeah,
quarterback. He was a stud. That dude was like, he looked like Clark Kent. That's what I think I used to call him that. I used to be
yeah.
like, hey, Superman. Because that dude, and that kid, God, we had some good people. Oh, I love that you're bringing his name up because he was a genuine good dude,
Yeah.
wasn't he? You
Oh
know?
yeah.
Oh, just a great guy. And he'd always be like, "What's up, Andy B?" And he would, you know what I mean? How he, yeah, hey, Andy B. And he had that little smirk. He was, man,
Well, the linebacker depth was pretty good when you had Jason Phillips, Robert Henson, David Hawthorne, and Daryl Washington.
dude, keep him coming. It was like literally NFL All Pros.
Yeah.
It's starting in our, yeah, right? And then also, let's not for you got to throw Stephen Hodge in that joint
Hmm?
because Stephen Hodge was a linebacker.
Yeah, he actually
That's
led.
he took my job. Damn it.
Yeah, he listed safety. I think he was number one in the country, most sacks by a safety that year.
That was well, I think that was the same year that we led the entire country in takeaways.
Yeah.
I think we had like 27 takeaways or something like that. I don't know.
Beast. Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot. Well, see, you're the stat guy, which, by the way, were you not on Stump the Schwab before you got to TCU?
You are correct. Actually, it was my second year at TCU.
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
on Stump the Schwab. Had a blast. I actually flew to New York. We finished up Mountain West Media Day in San Diego, and then I flew straight from San Diego to New York to do Stump the Schwab.
No way.
And the first round exit. Um,
Oh,
the guys
yeah.
that were with me, you couldn't study for it. I mean, I was like, just give me football, basketball, baseball, a little hockey, and I'll be okay. You start giving me NASCAR, boxing, and
Oh, no. Come
obscure
on.
Olympic sports. I'm not going to know much.
Oh, come on. Dude, that's crazy because I had a first round exit on a show on Netflix as well. So I get it. It's like
I'll send you the
also
link after we're done. I've
I
got a
know,
link
well,
you
because
can
I want to
watch
put
it.
it in here because I think that's incredible. But yeah, so what was that process like? Because I would like to get your intake on that because I've had a similar experience. Yeah.
It was fun. I remember there was an ad. We saw it in the Fort Worth Star Telegram back when the printed paper would come to our house.
Randy Galloway,
And it
shout
was
out. Yeah.
a restaurant in somewhere in the Dallas area. And I remember my oldest son, David, was probably, let's see, he would have been like 13 years old then. And I said, hey, how about this? They're doing tryouts for Stump the Schwab. And he goes, well,
Huh.
you ought to do it. You think? Yeah, you know what? I got nothing to do this Saturday. Let's just
Yeah.
drive. It was either Dallas or Plano. I forget where it was, but we went
Yeah.
up there. And so you
Wow.
had to do a written test first, and you had to
Oh,
score well enough on the written test. You had to get like a certain number out of 25 correct. And so my son was doing it as well, but they said, no, he's too young. He can't go on the show, but he can do it for fun. But I did well enough on the written test, and then they graded on the spot. And then they said, okay, now we got to do kind of a personality on camera test with you.
yeah.
I said, okay. So I hung around. They asked me some questions, and I did well enough, obviously, that they called me to invite me on the show. So I flew to New York,
Oh,
and
cool.
Stuart Scott, was hosting it.
Wow. Really?
And you walk out and you see a studio audience. And I'm like, who in the world is watching this? Who goes to New York City and says, I want to be in the studio audience for Stump the Schwab? But I had a blast with it. I mean, I
Oh,
held
yeah.
my own in the first round. I got, the three questions were we had to go around the horn, with me, the two other contestants, and the Schwab.
And the
First one
Schwab,
was,
that guy was like unstoppable, by the way. I think he only lost like a couple of
yeah, I mean,
rounds.
he was just a research statistician guy there, and they're like,
Yeah,
this guy knows everything there is to know about sports. We ought to make a TV show, where
yeah.
he shows off his knowledge.
Yeah. That's
But
kind of like if you watch Get Up with Greeny in the mornings, that's what that guy does. He does the same thing. I don't know if you know what I'm talking. I can't
one
remember
of
the
the
guy's.
one of the funniest things about that is, I do, you do that talk with the team at the start of camp, all about the
Oh
media
yeah.
training.
Yeah.
So I make it a short spiel, but then and I always would say, anybody have any questions? And of course you don't get any questions, but I'll
No.
never forget Jason Phillips raises his hand in the back of the team room. And Jason Phillips goes, "Hey, were you on Stump the Schwab?" I go, "Yes, I
Oh, that's
was."
so awesome.
He goes, "Yeah, we
Uh,
were flipping the channels and somebody said
uh,
they saw you on there." And this was like 2 years after the show had been aired. It was just in reruns, but it would still
oh,
pop
that's
up
so
occasionally.
great. Dang. That's leave it to J Phil. You know what reminds me of something that we had come across our path after we won that game at Oklahoma. We were on the cover of USA Today, and I mean, we were just all over the news because Adrian Peterson had under 100 yards, and I mean, he was the Heisman guy. And
The 10 points that Oklahoma scored that day were the lowest in a home game for Bob Stoops during his time as head coach there.
that's a stat, dude. Stat of the day, dude. That is a stat. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's cold. And I would also say that maybe I don't know this, but the fact that Mike Leach and Texas Tech were scoring like an average of 60 points a game and came into Fort Worth, I would beg to differ that that's probably the lowest point percentage that Mike Leach's offense has ever put out on the road. I would have to say that. I don't know, but you would have to believe that. Wasn't it 3 points, 6 points? Three,
12-3,
12-3,
four
dude.
Chris Manfredini field goals, and a massive hit by Marvin White.
The great white hit. Is that not the most
I remember that game. That was we had the old press box, and it was open air, as hot and humid as can be.
oh,
And so
oh,
the great Gary Bender was doing the game with Glenn Parker. Glenn Parker
oh,
was the color analyst.
yeah.
He had played with Kenneth Davis with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
He started
Texas
at
tornado.
he started at tackle on 4 Super Bowl teams. It was
Wow.
so hot. I'll never forget. He took his tie and rang his tie, and the sweat came off his
No.
tie.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. That is such a great memory and beautiful description. I love that. Um, Dude, do you know that so I live here in Austin, right? And I work out at Equinox, which is a fitness club down on South Congress, and Danny Amendola works out
Oh.
there from time to time. And so we've exchanged information and stuff. And because I knocked his ass out in that game, that was the best game of my college career. I had 6 tackles all on special teams, and I was all on punt and kickoff. And then the next week is when I blew out my knee against BYU. And I'll never forget, Mark. Because what happened was Brock, remember Brock?
Mhm.
He's very successful. Shout out Brock.
Marcus
Um,
Brock.
Marcus Brock, incredible human. Uh, he caught the punt, and on punt D, you're taught to like just kind of keep him in your hip pocket and kind of keep him and shadow him out to your left side because Brock's coming down here in the middle. And I was just kind of shadowing this guy, and then like Brock caught the punt, and I was like, at the very last second, I was like, I'm just gonna give this guy a little something, and I hit him like that, and he grabbed onto my like pad and pulled me down, and I tried to stay up, and my cleat caught in the grass, and I go, and I'll never forget. I heard all three,
Hmm.
and then I looked up and I saw Mo Baldwin, and he was like, Big Mo, and he was like, get up, Andy B, get up. You got this. And I literally ran off with one leg and I got to the side and there was Dave Gable and he
Yep.
was like, try to put pressure on it. And I just literally put
Yeah.
it and it just fell to the ground. And then I'll never forget Dave went over there and I think it was guy Gus. Gus. He was great. He's still a athletic trainer somewhere, but they did like that, that test. And then they were like, and Dave like looked over at Gus and he was like, uh, and then they wheeled me off. Oh, what a bummer, dude. But yeah, anyway, Amendola though, he literally brought up the great white hit. And I was
Oh,
like, yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, because it was the first time meeting him. And I was like, yeah, man, I knocked you out. And he got a kick out of it. I mean, he's like a Super Bowl champion, like
sure.
whatever, right? And he's like, yeah, the great white hit. And I was like, yes. I think that guy's name was Brandon Johnson. They had like a stack of wide receivers at
Hmm.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And dude, Marvin White gave him that business, dude. That would not have been allowed today,
Probably,
honestly.
yeah.
No, no, that was like, I mean, but honestly, it was a legal hit. But still, they probably would have thrown a flag or something. I think they probably did throw a flag, but what a game that was. I've never heard that stadium louder than it was. Well, maybe Utah Thursday night blackout. That was pretty gnarly. That was, I actually put down like a list of games because I
The
was curious.
Utah game, that was the first time that game day had come to TCU.
Right.
A lot of times the crew for game day, they don't stay for the actual game. They're all flying out immediately afterwards. But Desmond Howard was going to stay for the game, because we were kind of who are these guys? Are they really that
Yeah.
good? And so Desmond Howard's on the sidelines and he sends me a text early second quarter when it was 45-7. And it was after the Tank Carter pick six. It was after the
Oh,
Tyler Luttrell hit,
oh
but
yeah, Lutton nailed that dude. Yeah.
his text
On
just said,
kickoff, right? That's what you're
yeah,
talking.
but
Yeah.
Desmond says, okay, I've seen enough. You guys are for
Oh.
real. And there was some big fight that night. I forget who was fighting, but he goes, I'm going to go watch the fight, but I've seen enough.
Uh,
You guys are for real. Take care.
oh, dang, dude. That's so cool. So my dad runs the Fort Worth City Club downtown, and they always would invite the guys,
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
city center to come work out. And my dad like went out and met Desmond out front, to walk him in and everything. And Des he was like, "Oh, thank you." My dad said he was just like so awesome and
Oh, he's the
incredible and
best.
like such a good dude, right? Yeah, that's all I've heard from
Yeah.
out of him. Like he's just an incredible human. And my dad said, where's your blue-eyed boy?" Or something like that. Something's kind of snarky talking about Herbie. And
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, he still got his head in the pillow." And I'll never forget that. Then my dad like took a selfie with Des. Like, I mean, just a good dude.
Sure. Oh,
And he's always been a huge like TCU advocate, which is really cool. Um, so dude, I want to ask you, this is something that like kind of came up in my mind, and I was just curious because I've been using a lot of artificial intelligence as far as like chat GPT to write proper messages. And like I've read articles about how like um, you know, if you're not using AI, then you're going to get left behind type deal. And that's coming from like, Amazon and Google CEOs and things like that. And so I'm curious, like, as a sports information director, an SID, are you, do you see that coming to where like they're hiring a kid for 40K or they're possibly just getting an intern or something like that who, because this is where this is, I know where I'm going, but like, are they just gonna like record the post game and then put in the box score and put in the post game interview and then say write a review. Is that something that's come across your mind, or is that something that's like on the horizon? Because
Well,
then I also have Bill Ellis's take on this too, so I would love to hear yours first and then kind of
well,
go
you
from
have to
there.
be cognizant of it and embrace it. There's a lot of folks studying to what effectiveness can it be used and the
Hmm.
accuracy of it. And then
Hmm.
also, does it help you work smarter and more efficiently?
Hmm.
One of the old school parts of the job is just a game recap. Can you use AI for that? And that way you're free then to better utilize your time and efforts in another manner rather than something that nowadays, not many people are looking at a game recap. They've watched the game. They know what happened.
Mm,
They don't need to read 20 paragraphs. It's a waste of time writing 20 paragraphs about the game when everybody has seen
mm,
it on TV. They followed
mm,
it along on social media. So how can
mm.
AI be involved in that particular aspect? There's still a lot of research being done, just how effectively you can use it and the accuracy, but it's something you have to be aware of and embrace as
I
something that is
yeah,
evolving.
but like yeah, but like with talking with Bill, he was like, yeah, but Mark did so much more than that, right? Like so it was like being that like calm intention of like, with like relating to players and helping them
Exactly. Yeah,
relax and then like talking to them and then also like having a relationship with the coach and also having relationships with the broadcasters and the photographers and things like that.
exactly. That's where the human aspect, cannot be replaced, is the relationships. But then if you utilize it effectively, then it frees you up to work more directly and personal touch, with
Yeah,
coaches, student athletes, media, pitching stories, being proactive,
exactly.
not tied up with something that can be handled in a different manner.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think Bill hit it right on the head. I was like, yep, you're right, dude. Like you can't take that like human interaction. Like there's nothing like that. I mean,
Correct. Yeah,
there's just something to be said there, okay? Like I understand this is where technology is going and everything, and like I understand that like this is something that we need to utilize and everything, but at the same time, dude, you have to like have human connection and things like
exactly.
that. And so I don't know, but I do think that I wanted to lead that into something. I don't know, but like I just do you think that that's going to happen? Do you think that they're just going to get rid of SIDs around the board or
I don't think completely, no, because you still need folks to work with media, to work with your TV
right,
broadcast partners. Um, you know, the the best of the best when it comes to the TV talent, a highlight
right.
is when you spend the whole week prepping them for
Yeah,
the game. They want to
right.
know human interest stories,
Yeah.
to know the
Thank you,
backstory on every
dude.
single player, his superstitions, his hobbies,
Thank you. That's
sideline.
why Vin Scully is a legend.
Exactly.
And but like I feel like we may be missing that. I do think that like there are some broadcasters and some color guys out there that like do a really good job of painting a picture. But like, dude, I know you. When I was in Florida, funny enough, that's when I really got into Vin Scully. And I know you, so I would love to hear your favorite Vin Scully story, number one, because I bet you have one. I know you do because you're licking your
There
lips.
was a player
But
named Socrates Brito. He was a Arizona Diamondback. He had a really brief Major League Baseball career, but what a great name, Socrates Brito.
yeah.
So during one of his at bats, Vin Scully just talked all about Socrates, and anybody that was watching the game learned more about Socrates in one at bat
Wow.
from Vin Scully than they did from a semester of college
Yeah.
studying Socrates.
That's incredible because that was so when I was in Florida, I had a work car or whatever, and I was driving around, Mark. You know how it is as a broadcaster and a reporter, more than just a sportscaster. I was a reporter, right? So I'm filming all these games. I'm from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. essentially, and I'm covering games and doing live shots and I had XM in my car in Florida, and I would listen to Vince Scully every
Yeah.
night, and
That
it
was a
was
kid
just the
growing up in
most.
Southern, yeah. I grew up in
It,
Southern California and I listened to him, 7, 8 years old, just lying in
Therapy,
bed.
baby.
Yeah.
Therapy. It was therapeutic. I was literally listening to him like he was my doctor. And he
Mm.
would just tell these beautiful stories. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's, people always go, oh, how could you, you know, uh, from a sportscaster and a broadcaster to being a chef? And I'm like, well, I'm actually doing something very similar. I'm literally, uh, I tell stories with my food.
Yeah.
So like when I go and cook for, different comedians and entertainers and CEOs around town here in Austin, I I don't just serve them food. I serve them a story. So when I bring the food out, I say, okay, well, here's what I was thinking of, and here's the process that went through it, and this is why we're here right now. And
You
I
know,
think
but
it's
I think
fulfilling, man. Yeah.
you have some competition when it comes to food
Foodies.
in Austin. You got
Yeah.
Marshall Newhouse right across the city from you.
Yeah,
He's
dude,
been
I
to
know.
dabble pretty well in the kitchen.
Yeah, apparently
Culinary skills,
I
well
need to
known.
connect with him because this is really funny. I don't really get on Twitter like I used to because, I used to do it for a job and now I do Instagram and some TikTok for a job, right? So it's kind of like transitioned. So I don't really get on TikTok, but I will say this, and that's funny you bring his name up. I was I went to New Orleans a couple of weekends ago with my girlfriend, and we were at the Austin Bergstrom ATX, and we're getting ready to go to New Orleans, and all of a sudden the lady comes on the thing and she's like, Marshall Newhouse,
Um,
please return to
wow.
whatever. And I was like, and I tweeted him and I'm like, Marshall, Gate A26 is calling you. You better get over there, bud. Yeah, and that's like the first time I've heard his name, and then now again. But no, yeah, I guess he and I have some connections. This tattoo is a smiley face of my friend. She passed away, but that's her smile, and she is the was the owner of La Barbecue. Which have you? When's the last time you were in Austin?
It's been a while.
It's the best barbecue in town. Yeah,
Okay.
and Marshall frequents there often. So that's a good notice that I should probably reach out to him and we should do like a cool collab. That would be fun. I would love that. What is he doing? Is he chefing or what?
Well,
I think he's got a barbecue. I know David
he's got,
Hawthorne's got a barbecue joint and
yeah, Marshall's got a very bright future in broadcasting.
oh
Uh,
wow.
he's doing some national radio hits and
Really?
he's been an analyst,
Good
broad.
for him, dude.
Yeah,
Well, he's always super
he's a rising
articulate and
rising star.
well, good for him, dude. That's
Yeah.
badass. Yeah, I need to connect with him because I guess we share a lot of uh, we share a lot of things in common. I should probably reach out to him. Um, okay, but I do want to touch on this because I think, oh well, I want to go here, Mark, and I know, yeah, we still have good time. Um, NIL. How has that changed not only the athlete and the prospect, but also like the power and product of the business?
Well, this is what's happening now. It's the biggest change in collegiate athletics since Title IX.
Yeah.
Uh, it's an industry reset. Um, I'm happy as heck that the student athletes can now be compensated. I mean, it's been
Mhm.
a long time coming, and obviously it keeps people in school longer, and hopefully it does mean more will have their degree. There's not that incentive that they have to go pro because, as has been proven, you can sometimes make more money staying in college than you can by going pro.
Yeah,
Um,
so wait, but you just said it keeps them in school longer, but I mean, when you're somebody like let's just say Cooper Cup, right? Obviously, he would have just gone straight to the league if this was Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant days, but
I mean, a flag
he
for Duke.
Cooper Flags,
Yeah,
sorry, Cooper Cup, LA. Yeah,
yeah,
my bad. I was still swinging Cali.
yeah.
But
Well, he's an
Coop,
exception. He's like a when you're the
well,
bona fide number one
but
pick of
like, yeah,
the draft.
but like, I mean, even like a guy like Shador Sanders is making like 28 million, and then now he's making like 4.5 million.
Mhm.
How is that going to keep a kid in school longer? I don't
Well,
know.
if you're a fringe player, um,
Right. Okay. I
where if I go to the NFL, maybe I get drafted, maybe I'm a free agent, practice squad, but I know
yeah.
in college I can be a major contributor and, one of those guys probably on the higher end of the payroll.
Yeah. It's an interesting deal though. Like, I mean, as far as like the how has the attitude changed of the athlete that's coming in, the scholar athlete?
Well, one thing I'll say, Coach Dykes brings in phenomenal young men. And I never
Yeah.
saw anything that was different, in my interactions
Really?
with him.
Yeah.
He's going to bring in the right people for the program. Um,
Right.
they
Yeah,
want to,
because I mean, it is a hell of a program. So it's like, I mean, and he seems like a pretty stand-up dude. So I wonder how it's changing though. Like, I mean, I just haven't had any connection with some of the coaches, and I'm not trying to go anywhere that we don't want to go or whatever, but it's just like I just can remember like being able to like feel comfortable going back
oh,
and
it's a
like
very open door to the former
I
players.
know,
Yes.
but is it though? Is it?
Absolutely. 100%.
Do you think so? Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys
Uh,
that have come back will tell you how welcome they are. Um,
okay. Yeah,
Coach
because I
Dykes
mean, but like I
is
wasn't
phenomenal.
like
And
yeah, because but I wasn't like Tommy Blake on the cover of
no,
Playboy
it
or
doesn't
like I
matter. It
you
doesn't
don't
matter.
think so?
No, as
Yeah.
long as you were a former player,
They'll open arms and stuff.
absolutely 100%. I've seen
I
it for
tried to get in there the other day, dude. I walked because I took my girl down and I got her a picture next to Coach P's statue and I sent it to him. He died laughing. Oh, because you know what was really dope was like, I don't know, Coach P follows me on like Instagram and stuff or whatever. And so like I don't even know how he knew I was in town, but he called me at like 7 a.m. and I'm like,
there's a buzz in Fort Worth. I can tell you this. There's a buzz when you come back to town.
is there? I don't
People
know.
talk. Yeah.
What? Really? Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, I'll have to. Well, I'm a grown up now, so I'm not doing anything silly. But I will say 7 a.m. Mark, and I was like, it was almost like I was getting a call from Michael Irvin again when I used to work for Irvin, and I was like, "Yes, sir, Coach." And sure enough, he's like, "Hey, you want to go get some donuts over there on Bluebonnet Circle?" And I was like, what? I was like, yes, sir, absolutely. And I like got up and like threw some water on my face and went and had coffee and donuts with Coach P. It was pretty cool. I mean, I was just like blown away by, I don't know, his willingness to reach out to me proactively. I don't know. It was pretty neat. I was like, isn't that pretty sweet though that we have that like
Oh yeah.
relationship after all
No,
these years?
one of the best things for me, is when you have all the former players, coming back and,
Yeah.
you know, guys you knew when they were in college. Now you see them in a little bit of a gray hair, here and there on the beard or on the side.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they got the families. Um,
Yeah.
no, that's as rewarding as heck is keeping in touch with all those guys, the LinkedIn invites, the wedding
Uh,
invites, the
oh,
Facebook
cool.
friend requests.
Oh,
That
nice.
means everything. And, it was so great, to see them come back, for practice, to see them come back, for some reunions.
Sweet.
You know,
Nice.
back in the day when, the pro days, were on campus, they would all return, whether they were
Yeah.
NFL guys or not. But that's one thing I've always treasured is, the relationship with all, the guys like you. And it never mattered to me whether they were NFL bound or a walk-on. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same to me. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, and speaking of family, and I'll get you out on this, but I do want to talk about. So Eli, is that? So how many sons? You have only boys? Is that right?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, three sons. The oldest, David, he works at the University of Cincinnati.
that's what I thought.
Went into the
Yeah,
family business.
so
And so
awesome.
he and his wife,
And
Orly, have Eli. Then I have two younger sons that are at home with my wife and I, Adam and Steven, and they're both on the autism spectrum.
okay, is that something that you call? So I did some research on this stuff because my mom and I were talking. My mom's brilliant, Mark. She's a biologist. She always says she would have, been a doctor if I hadn't met your father, right? So she's like a scientist and a long time. Inner city school teacher, science teacher, Trimble Tech. She taught at Pascal. She taught at Alito. Won a ton of awards. She's just, I can't say enough about her. I love her so much. But she was talking about the similarities of like my ADHD, which I just recently was finally able to get like actual help for and like understand like what I need to do in order to like control it, right? Because I feel like when I was younger, I was diagnosed at like 5 years old, but my parents didn't want to put me on medication because they wanted me to be um, a, a kid and like didn't know much about it in those times. And then as time has gone on, it's gotten more severe. And so um, she was talking about the similarities between ADHD and like being on the spectrum and how like we're kind of like all on the spectrum essentially. And then I guess the word that I was trying to get at is neurodivergent, which just essentially means like, yeah, my brain thinks a different way than your brain, which would mean that we all think a different way. I don't know. So like, can you just tell me a little bit about like being a father of autistic? Is it a son or sons that are both?
Both of them, they're on different
Both.
ends.
Yeah. So like, can you just kind of like, because I know that like my listeners, like part of this podcast is relatable, right? So it's like, yeah, it's sports, it's entertainment, it's hip hop, it's this and fashion and all that, but it's also mental health and something that I'm like take a lot of pride in and I really have worked hard on and I'm aware of. So if you could just like kind of how has that been as a father and raising those two sons and all those things? That'd be
Well, we know no other way of life. I mean,
mhm.
Adam, our middle son, is 30 and he's nonverbal. And, he's on the more severe end of the spectrum. And then
Mhm.
Stephen, the youngest, is 26 and he's high functioning. He works part-time at the Albertsons grocery store on Oakmont and Bryan Irvin.
I
He's been
think
there about 8 years now.
yeah, my mom actually talks to him every time she goes in
Oh,
there.
great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
she loves him. Yeah, she mentioned that. I
That's
just didn't
great.
know if that was yeah, she loves him. Yeah, and she's always saying
I got
hello
so
and
many people that tell me
oh, cool.
how he bagged their groceries. I remember Bud Clark, the great safety for TCU.
Oh yeah.
He came running up to me one day, all excited. He goes, "Your son bagged my groceries. Your son
Oh,
bagged
that's
my
so
groceries."
cool.
Uh,
Wow.
so it's a
That's
great store, great, experience for him to, have some responsibility like that.
absolutely. Yeah, that's really neat because that kind of like gives him, yeah, responsibility and like due diligence and like some structure, helps him kind of like
Yeah.
get along and all those things.
He brings in the shopping carts. He's getting um, the amount of carts he brings in at one time is rapidly growing.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
Dude, Bud Clark too. That kid. he was cold.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Bud Clark could lay a hit, dude. He was like wiry. He
Mm.
kind of gave like because remember how Marvin White was like super wiry?
Yeah.
How I mean he was jacked, dude. Don't get me wrong. The guy
You
had
got
traps out of his neck, but
two
he
guys
was
from the boot.
yeah, that's right. He's from the boot. Yeah, exactly.
No, Bud's a phenomenal person. He's a very proud dad right now with Kenzo,
Cool.
and
Good.
yeah, just
Well, I
appreciate
mean,
everything.
you've come across, I mean, that's got to be the most fulfilling thing, Mark. Like, I mean, I get words cannot express how many lives you've touched. And I don't even think you knew it, dude. I think you were just being your wholesome self. And I think there's just so much to be said about that, man. I love you, brother. And I think that you're just an incredible human. And like you've had such an impact on so many, scholar athletes, and you've helped people get to where, they wanted to be. And I just think that's so cool. I mean, you gotta pat yourself on the back, brother. You really do, Mark. You got to, man. I mean, talking with Bill today, like his voice lit up when I mentioned your name. And it was just like, I mean, that's pretty neat, you know? So,
Thanks, I appreciate that.
oh, dude, yeah, you're the best, dude. I'll have you on again, right?
Look
We'll
forward
keep
to
this
it
thing
always.
rocking. Dude, I think I'm at like almost 60 episodes. So it's just, and it's like, I just feel the need, for so many years I told the stories, and so now it's kind of like I'm getting the opportunity to not only get back to my love, which is reporting and journalism and things like that, but also like letting everyone else tell their story. Um, I'm completely grateful, and I appreciate your time, dude.
Oh, you're welcome. Great
All
to see
right.
you.
All right.
Please
I'll see
call
you
me the next
next
time
time
you're
I'm
in
in Fort
town.
Worth. Next time I'm in Fort Worth, I'm taking you to Joe T's.
Look
We're gonna,
forward to it.
okay, right? Because I walk in there, dude. It's like I know that family.
Okay,
And it's like Studio 54, baby. We don't wait in a line. There's no line around the block. We walk right
fantastic.
in. Yeah, and I'll have to show you the, because there's a order behind the order. So they always
As long as
say,
I
"Oh,
get my
it's
big nacho, the big nacho is my
oh,
staple.
that's what my mom gets. She gets the
Yeah.
Joe's Nacho. Oh,
Yeah.
well, you get the cheese one, but do you know that you can put chicken and beef and
No, I didn't know that.
oh yeah, baby. And you can get the bell peppers and onions on there. Yeah. Joe's Nachos.
Let's
Remember
do it
that.
for
All
sure.
right, brother. All right, Mark. Thanks so much, man.
Okay, appreciate
Talk,
it.
yes,
Thanks.
sir. Talk soon.